Did you ever feel irritated about having to stop moving before taking a shot in Valorant? Well, then you might have tried Counter-Strike Go or its recent iteration CS 2.0. But if you are like me who primarily came from movement-based shooters like Call of Duty and Apex Legends, there's a high possibility that neither Valorant nor Counter-Strike fulfill your cravings. Valorant is visually great, but having to stop before taking your shot is not my kind of thing. I'm not saying if it is good or bad, just that I couldn't mingle with it, and although CS kinda gives you that freedom, it's quite bland in terms of its visuals and aesthetics. For a long time, players like me have waited for a game that could bring the best of both worlds. Games like Shatterline did try, but unfortunately it didn't work for them because there wasn't anything new. The current FPS genre is super competitive, and if there isn't any actual incentive and not a gimmicky one to be precise being offered by a new IP, it would be foolish to think that players who have been playing their game of choice for many years would just leave their old game and jump into the new one. I have seen many games in the past and in the recent times from indie developers as well as from big studios to enter in this genre and then getting RKO'd. Concord being one of the prime examples recently. So when FragPunk released their first world premiere extended trailer on June 12, 2024, I got excited, but I kept my hype in check. They had an alpha test by the end of June 2024 and videos started popping up on YouTube by many prominent content creators. Things looked promising, but I really wanted to experience it firsthand and share my thoughts with you all. So I applied for the recent closed beta that happened in October, and when I got the invite, I played my hearts out in FragPunk. So sit back, relax a little, and enjoy hearing me talking about this game and my impression for the next 15 to 20 minutes. Let's start with what is FragPunk. FragPunk in its core is a 5v5 tactical hero shooter. So far it just sounds like all the other games we already have, doesn't it? Here's the twist. It has a unique card system that can change everything, including yours and your opponent's abilities, environment, objectives, and weapon enhancements during a match. This is the X factor of FragPunk in a nutshell. So now that you have a basic idea about the game, let's start with the gameplay first and then we'll talk more about the cards. To be honest, this is one of the most polished games that I have played in a closed beta. Apart from one small issue with the game, it ran flawlessly. I'm running a system with a Ryzen 7 7800X3D, an Nvidia RTX 4070 Ti Super with 32GB of DDR5 RAM, and even with every graphical settings cranked to the max, I was still getting above 200 FPS at 1080p. And I had to limit my FPS at 144Hz in order to match my monitor refresh rate so that I didn't end up getting any screen tears. Also, I did not get any stutters or weird lags during my gameplay. Now, I did not run any external performance log softwares, so I really can't talk about how the frame time graphs were, but if I just have to give an opinion from my gameplay experience, it was buttery smooth. The things that I really liked about this game were its fast-paced movement paired with really loud and on-point directional footstep audio. I played using my headphones and I had no issues in recognizing oncoming footsteps. As a matter of fact, at times the footsteps felt just unnecessarily loud to me, which is a personal preference and not a game issue. Also, just to make things clear, although the game promotes fast movements, there is no sliding in this game, and currently there is only one character in the game who can slide, that is Axon. One other thing that I really liked in terms of gameplay was the gun mechanics. To me, the guns felt distinct in their recoil and fire rate, etc. Although weapon balancing is definitely needed, I was pleasantly surprised with the feedback that I received from different guns while shooting. Another really cool thing about this game was that at the start of a round, players did not have to buy guns or abilities. Players would spawn with a primary slot, a secondary weapon, and a melee weapon. For the primary slot, player could select any weapon that they liked. Every character had 3 abilities and some of the characters had an additional passive ability as well. Players would spawn with their all 3 abilities, and if you would use an ability, it won't go away. Rather, it would be on a cooldown. Once the cooldown timer was over, you would be able to use the ability again. Additionally, all the abilities could stack up to 2 slots. So if you would save one of your abilities and stack up, you would be able to use it twice in quick succession when needed. The only thing that players had to buy at the start of a round was cards. Okay, let's talk about cards now, because cards are something that makes this game truly special and adds an unique element to it. There were 3 categories of cards in FragPunk during the closed beta. Number 1, rule cards that influences gameplay mechanics or can also alter environments. Number 2, Lancer cards that influences character abilities. And number 3, the weapon cards that influences weapons. Different game modes had different amount of cards associated with them. During the closed beta, Shard Clash had 111 cards, Ranked had 104 cards, Team Deathmatch was limited to just 13 cards, and Capture the Core had 33 cards available. There were 3 different rarities of cards: blue, purple, and golden, and also had tiers from 1 to 5, which was denoted by the number of dots on top of each individual card, which also indicated the amount of shard points needed to get that particular card. In a nutshell, the higher the tier, the better the card in terms of its effects or abilities it would bring to the table, but it would also be more costly to get. Let's talk about the 6 different game modes that were available during the closed beta. Number 1, your 5v5 classic team deathmatch, where team reaching the target score wins the game. In this game mode, in the beginning of each round, players would select their primary weapon and buy their individual cards for that round. Players would earn shard points during a match that they could use to buy better or different cards after they had respawned. Players could select a maximum of 2 cards per individual, and just like your abilities, players could use them again and again as soon as they had the required shard points. Number 2, capture the flag, where your team and your opponent will try to capture flags spawning in the map and then will try to bring them back to your individual bases to score points. There are bonus points for capturing your opponent's base flag and bringing it to your own base. At the end of the time limit, that was 12 minutes during the closed beta, the team with the highest score wins. In this game mode, players can have up to 3 cards. Just like Team Deathmatch, you can pick any available weapon and your abilities are also there from the beginning of a match. Number 3, Shard Clash, which is your search and destroy with 7 rounds. For the first 6 rounds, it's attackers versus defenders, with each team either attacking or defending for the consecutive 3 rounds. If the score are tied at 3-3 after the end of 6th round, then the game will be decided by the 7th round, which is in the form of a duel, where all the players would pick their slot from 1 to 5 and face the opponents in that order. When all the players from one team are eliminated, the other team wins. Additionally, the card mechanic is also different from Team Deathmatch and Capture the Flag. In Shard Clash, at the start of each round, you and your teammates can select up to 3 cards for your team rather than buying for your own. Also, there is 1 life per round in this game mode, so if you die, you can only get respawned in the beginning of the next round. Also, in Shard Clash, you can only use a gun once and you can only use it again if you survive a round with it. Number 5, Duel Master. In this game mode, there will be 8 players with every individual having 5 lives. When you lose a duel, you lose a life. When you have lost all your lives, you are eliminated from the game. The last standing player among the group wins the game. Although unique, this game mode needs some tweaks to be fairly balanced, and I'll share my thoughts in an upcoming section where I'll discuss about my nitpicks about the game as well as this game mode. And number 6 is your rank mode. As usual, I have no clue about this game mode whatsoever or its settings, but this is basically your Shard Clash paired with ranked mechanics. This is a hero shooter, so we have a pool of characters, or in case of FragPunk, pool of Lancers to choose from. That's what they are called in this game, Lancers. During the closed beta, we had 12 Lancers available to choose from, and when you look at their abilities, these Lancers can also be categorized into different classes. As I had illustrated earlier, all the Lancers came with 3 abilities and some of them even came with passive ability, which felt quite unusual to me, and I'm going to address my concerns under the upcoming issues section. For the time being, let's take a look at the unique and vibrant art style of this game, which is ever present in its UI design, map design, character and abilities, and last but not the least, in its weapon design as well. The UI in FragPunk felt like graffiti art to me. The play button was so cool looking. Like, tell me if you have seen a play button this cool in an FPS shooter. I haven't. Also, the map designs were quite vibrant and it was quite easy to detect players even from distance. The characters are also really cool looking in terms of their base costumes and animations. There are a good amount of weapons in this game from different classes like SMGs, ARs, shotguns, pistols, LMGs, rifles, snipers, and all those guns looked super dope in terms of their base skins. Next comes our progression and rewards. Like many other FPS games, we have account level and battle pass level progression in FragPunk. During the beta, the devs gave everyone a level 50 battle pass for free to grind with some cool rewards. I'm not sure, but I think we get to keep those rewards when the game goes live. So it's a win-win for sure if that's the scenario. The devs get more playtime out of the players and players get cool rewards in return. Store had some cool looking bundles and items available, but nothing to make me go bonkers. I hope they introduce some animated gun skins in future, cause that's going to be dope. And I love them to adopt the store model from the finals, where we can either purchase the entire bundle or get an individual item from the bundle. Also, if any of the FragPunk devs are watching this, please do not pull a Spectre Divide on launch. List the items in store at a fair price. Now it's time to share some issues that I've faced and a few feedbacks that I have for the devs. Number 1, I did not face any bugs other than the game sometimes just kept running even after exiting, and even after trying to close it from Steam, it didn't work. So I had to restart Steam for that. That happened a few times, so I'd hope the issue gets resolved before official launch, otherwise haters are going to rip into that. Number 2, weapon balancing is absolutely necessary before the release. There are weapons like that auto shotgun that are filthy and feels completely unfair. From my experience, that auto shotgun had better range than most of the SMGs. I'm just taking an example here, and overall weapon balancing is necessary. Number 3, ping. Ping was an issue for me during the closed beta. Now I understand that there wouldn't be many servers available during a test, and it would not make sense for an indie developer to allocate their limited funds towards it at this stage. So I'm okay with it for the time being, but more servers are needed at launch. I do not want to play an FPS with 100 millisecond ping and then get shot from behind a corner. Number 4, UI design. Although it looked really good, UI design did not feel uniform to me. When I look at the awesome looking play button in the start page, and then when I look at the rest of the elements in that page like the battle pass cutout section, the login reward section, and different sub-menus at the top, they feel out of place or dated in design. Maybe it's just a personal preference, but to me the play button felt like a part of the menu, as if it was in sync with the overall design, but the other elements in that main screen did not feel the same. Number 5, only a few Lancers having passive abilities and others not may sound cool on paper, but in reality everyone would try to go for mostly those characters who have useful passive abilities, like Axon, who was the only Lancer who could slide because of his passive. This could lead to player frustration, as whoever loads into the game first gets a free pick at the character if they have it unlocked. So we'll eventually see people abandoning matches because they couldn't pick the best character they wanted. Although people are still going to abandon matches for such a reason, either giving all the characters a useful passive ability or just cutting it out from everyone can make the character selection seemingly fairer. At least, players won't be able to blame devs for their action. Number 6, not having to buy guns at the start of a round is great, but it also means no incentive to play well for the next round. Also, why on earth I would enjoy playing with different weapons in a shard clash match, which is basically search and destroy. These are kind of competitive matches, and nobody is going to enjoy having to pick a different gun every time after they respawn. My suggestion would be to change the above 2 mechanics and add weapon buying at the start of every round and keep all the guns in between the rounds just for shard clash. It gives an incentive to the players to play well and get good scores to be able to buy their favorite weapon again. The devs can keep the same free gun mechanic for arcade game modes like TDM and Secure a Flag, and there they could try experimenting with this 1 gun per respawn mechanic. For the abilities, no, I don't want abilities to be purchased during rounds, but simply putting a limit on how many times an ability can be used during a round can solve a major ability spam issue in Shard Clash. Once again, make these ability changes for Shard Clash only and keep the arcade modes untouched for the time being. Number 7, duels in my humble opinion are better without abilities. Leave it for the players to decide the outcome with their guns, because I would hate to lose the game by getting one shot from Broker's rocket launcher in the face. Overall, I was thoroughly impressed with FragPunk after playing the game during its closed beta. The card mechanic is simply a genius move. In my humble opinion, the game does need a lot of fine-tuning before its release, and it's a good thing that the game is going to be released somewhere in 2025. That will give the devs to take all the feedback from the closed beta and do the necessary changes. Bad Guitar Studios have something really special in their hands, and I hope they realize that. My only request to the devs would be to take the time required and release a polished game instead of rushing it for a few extra bucks. Play the long game. If done right, it will definitely see success, because there's a large crowd craving for a game like this that can bridge the gap between Call of Duty and Valorant. That's it for this video. A lot of work goes behind for a video like this, so I really hope you liked it. If you did, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you have any suggestions for me, or if you would like to share anything about FragPunk or want me to make a video about any other particular game, please share it in the comments. Till next time, this is DJ signing off. Take care, much love and peace.